Now then, look at this. Redundant. All of it redundant. It's old. It's old tech. It's early game farming. Early tech. Seed farm's still going well, but most of it has just been turned off and dead for days. I've got this automation of bog earth overproducing, and so that's all turned off. Peat no longer fills the boilers of the engines below. Started building up a little collection of all of the trees that you can pick up as standard and all of the leaves you can get off them as standard, apart from those because they didn't have leaves or something. I can't remember why, but they're space holders anyway. And a little router sorting system in the back here. It's all very good, and I think I've enjoyed playing with it all. I've made the most of the early game tech and the mid game tech. We've messed about with the sorting system. Here we go, look, this is set up for Warlord's Organics. So basically the sorting system that me and Doodart started, we sort of finished, I sort of finished, we sort of managed to get working. Everything starts off going into the Warlord's dumping, and all of the stone and everything comes out and goes into the stone warehouse. Then it goes off to ore processing. Then once it's finished at ore processing, everything that didn't get processed as ores goes through to this organics, and when it's finished here it goes to the workshop, and once it's finished at the workshop it goes to the junk house. Quite straightforward. That brings it out, sends it along here. If it can go through one of the filters, then it goes. The upstairs filters are the saplings and would be leaves, but we never get any leaves through, so there's hardly any point in putting leaves up there. So leaves don't go up there. It's fine. Fine. Don't know why I've got cocoa beans in my filter. I think that may have been a red power error. And along the bottom here we've got all the different types of wood and wood planks and wood things, and they go into this router up here. Oh thanks, I wanted that wood. Where we've got a ton of wood. Oak wood, tons of it, tons of it, tons of it, tons of it. The farm was overproducing oak wood for days, just while I was figuring out all the technology behind it all. And now I've been messing about with tree breeding and finding different species of trees to find out the different wood colours, and basically building up a little bit of a stockpile for building projects. So it's good that I've got this much wood. I'm happy that I've got all these choices to make. I mean, all of that rubber, I had the whole farm turned to rubber trees for a while, so if we ever run out of actual rubber, then we've got plenty of rubber wood to mess about with and get into resin. But this now is a good little stockpile, and there are better ways to produce wood and process wood. And the whole sapling idea no longer works, because we've moved on to different power sources. We don't need the biomass anymore. It's a good power source, but not the best. It was good early game to have a few choices, but now we don't really need the saplings out of it. The squeezer, well, there are better things to squeeze than seeds from the wheat farm. Dirt all got piped back into the system. I had this little system here for making bog earth, and I've got a ton up here and a ton up there that you've seen in chests. This whole piping system where it would only pull out of this when there was a signal from above to say there was room. The red wire came down and told it to produce, and it sucked out, and while there was stuff in the pipe it wouldn't suck out, so that no too much would go, but it never worked. This little water thing for the filling up the water bucket was cool. It was just let's put an empty bucket in, put it in there, and then put it back in. As soon as it goes back in, let me show you. This little pipe here and gate says there's items in the inventory and it's an empty bucket, equals do a redstone signal. The redstone signal then causes the dispenser, a normal vanilla dispenser, to flick and fill up with water. Then that no longer reads an empty bucket, so it no longer has a redstone signal. And this fabricator can take the bucket from the available inventory below whenever it needs it. No cycling buckets through pipes or anything. Sand was coming in from over that way, and dirt was coming in from over this way, and this was just producing bog earth and pumping it out as fast as the farm above could need it, and quite a bit more on top of that with all the messing about I was doing testing it. All of these machines in the floor here, all were nice working little formats, but the problem I was having was getting the items that I needed to distribute, such as, let's see if I've got any. Yeah, humus. See, humus just reproduces itself as fast as possible because I've got all the component parts I need in next to the fabricators, and then I had it pumping straight into this chest, and as it goes into this chest, then, well, then the red pipe wires say, well, there's space in the inventories up there at the tree farm, so let's pump some humus out. So off it went, pumping humus out both directions. And while it was going down, we had the little pretty light show telling it not to pump any more, so I didn't have a constant flow because it's a long way. And the speed the fabricators work at, it would have tons and tons going up there. All of these gates, all these iron gates, tons and tons of resources and time and energy spent to get humus up into there to make wood that we didn't need, so that we had saplings that we no longer need, and so on. Had a little rig up over here for making the other type of humus with fertilizer, making fertilizer so that any apatite would go into this chest in the sorting system out there somewhere, and sand would be constantly pumped out from a pulverizer that was being constantly fed stone or cobblestone. Actually, it was supposed to be on cobblestone, but I used the cobblestone, switched it over to use up the lava so it couldn't be used again. I was just pulverizing cobblestone to make sand, to fill the chest, to make sure that that always had sand and apatite, to always make fertilizer, to always give that fertilizer. So whenever that had dirt, it was fine. The byproduct of that was gravel, and that would go under here to the chest. Gravel in the chest. Then this would minimum stone the gravel into dirt. The dirt would pump round and go into the nearest chest, which would be this one, ready for that part of the process. There's also dirt coming in from the other parts of the farm, coming down here. There was dirt meant to be coming in from anywhere else to come in through here. That did have set up as dirt, so the sorting system could put any dirt that we dug up into these two chests. This little rig up over here is taking the wheat, turning the wheat into plant balls, pumping the plant balls into there, pulverizing the plant balls into dirt, and the dirt getting put into the system. All of it worked. All of it ran well. All of it was, yeah, it wasn't stable as such. Some areas of the farm were producing well, and some areas were underproducing. And overall, there was always something that I came back to and thought, oh, I need to do that better. I need to find a better way of restricting that so it doesn't overproduce, or restricting that so it doesn't overproduce, or making this work better so that it doesn't underproduce, and so on, so on, and so on. Till eventually I've realised that all of this going on all the time actually causes a bit of lag. A bit of frame rate lag. Nothing major for the whole server, but all of these pipes and red power contraptions and all that constantly working was overproducing, and also it was more just for my personal education in how things work together and moving stuff around and controlling the flow of items and all that sort of stuff. And I've realised that I don't really like red power. Yeah, it's got tons of uses. Buildcraft, red power, I don't really like either of them. I now know a lot more about how to use them, which is very good, because I can use them in smaller projects. But every time I come back to the situation that I want to have some sort of automated storage. So for instance, here we've got a barrel sorting system. And the barrel, as soon as you push the button, it sends it into that item tesseract, which beams it to another place, which puts it into that barrel. So every time I push that, it sends it from one place to another, teleports it around. Which is far better than having all these pipes and tubes everywhere. Having that work. And that's a red power transposer, which requires a redstone pulse to make it work. So there was this automated way of doing things, which I think I saw in one of Mondef's earlier episodes. Mondef's Advanced Storage System or something like that. And it would basically send a tick over and over again with a timer to constantly try and pump items out of barrels into tesseracts, and the tesseracts would each be named whatever they needed to be called, in this case fertilizer. And that one over there received the fertilizer, I believe, and sent it into a chest. There we go. Because that one was set up to fertilizer while I was testing this. So that was a good system. But then I found out that the timer and these red power alloy wires cause lag. And if I wanted to do it on the scale that I really wanted to do it on, I would be causing tons and tons of lag, because all the items would be going through these things and receiving a pulse over and over again, just to keep these tesseracts full so that they would then distribute things to where they needed to go around the farm, either into other barrels or whatever. So yeah, I came to the conclusion that I've got to start again. That now this has served its purpose and we've got a good stock and supply for the mid-game. And mid-game's where we're at. We're at mid-game. So all that needs to change. And I have got plans and I have started on something. And I am going to show you. But one more thing that drew me to this conclusion in the first place. One more thing that we've got to take into consideration was this mob trap. We've got a ton of mobs coming in here. My last couple of videos show that we have a ton of mobs coming in here, and I've now got the turtles all rigged up with transposers under them. And downstairs, I was planning on doing that little timer tick thing. So this is connected up to the pipes there, and they connected to the transposers, giving the transposers a signal to pull an item out of the turtle. Then the item would come into the sorting system and head into the barrel for whatever it was, keeping the barrels stocked. So the barrels became the storage for all the mob drops. And then the idea was that that same tick would constantly try and put the item into a tesseract. And then these tesseracts could be wherever we wanted them in the world, and be able to set to receive items from this mob drops whenever we wanted. So for instance, ender pearls have multiple uses. So having ender pearls constantly in an item tesseract pumping out to wherever we wanted, like Bowlef's mutator blocks in his apiaries. Alvarez, should I say. I'll actually get used to that one day. But as soon as I ran the timer, as soon as I placed it down here and it started ticking, I could feel the lag. And this is just, what, 9 transposers going off with a bit of redstone wire. 10, 11, 12 transposers going off. And I was thinking of basing a lot of the sorting system in the advanced stages to this timer system. And on the server it just does not work. And it sucks. Because I put all this work into figuring out that it doesn't work on the server. It works, but it doesn't do us any good on the server. So I want to find a better way. So I scrapped the idea, I put the timer in the box, never to speak of it again. Until now. Until this very moment. Now we're on to the stage where I've found the new solution to my problem, to my storage needs. And I'm moving into the end game technology. Now I'm picking it up. Everything getting processed through that system at the minute is still good. It's still working fine. These farms could be switched on and should work fine anytime. All of this down here would just work. and keep producing what I wanted it to produce in the first place. But it's all sluggish and overcomplicated and not very awesome at all. But it is what you would expect to see from a Tekkit, Feed the Beast, modded Minecraft effect. But in Ultimate, we've got the Applied Energistics mod. And I want to build a super Applied Energistics factory that does all of that work for me in here with much better, less laggy sorting systems and item transference and all that. Now, this is what I started hollowing out. This is what I gave as my starting block, and then I realized actually I could make this a lot bigger, a lot grander, and do a lot more. And as you can see, there's nothing currently fixed into it. I didn't want to be messing about just digging out and building this on video so that you can watch me do it all block by block. I thought I'd spare you, so I'm doing all that work off camera. But I have been saving the installation of all the little modules and components, and I'll do a bit of show and tell if I don't know what I'm doing. But if I know what I'm doing, then I'll try and do it on a video for you. Now, I've got a basic little setup over here, which I've produced just a few basic things, and I'll just switch the computer on for now, which is basically a magmatic engine powering the system, which is these 3 blocks here do all of the storage for me at the minute. That's an auto crafter, an MC terminal, and as you can see I've been dumping quite a few items in there, mostly items to do with this factory and how I'm going to set it up. So it's setup items all in here. Look, one chest that's got everything that I need to get started, and I've been playing around with the items. Used the project table to get accustomed to the recipes and to make things a bit faster, because I was trying to get at least one of everything in the Applied Energistics made, so that I would at least be able to experiment with it, see if it works, and then if it does, then I could put it into practice and make a few of them. Now downstairs here I've got another big open space with the biggest tank that Zycraft allows you to build. Now I think there's a bit of a glitch here, because this should be full of lava. It's my lava tank, and I left it on to fill up, and indeed it is full with the maximum amount of liquid that a multi-tank can hold. Well, at least a Zycraft multi-tank, and the Zycraft ones do look the best. So yep, that's full, but for some reason the graphics aren't showing up for me. I'll log out, log back in a minute. Let me just show you the downstairs then, because you just saw it through there. This has been hollowed out by turtles. I just let them dig down until I had enough space to work in. And I built this whopping great big tank in the middle. And this is all that there is from the tank, to and from the tank. So I've got an item tesseract which beams out from the tank, constantly on, ready to send, but it doesn't send unless there's something receiving it. It does lose a bit of lava on the way, I'm pretty sure, a micro bucket or whatever they call them. And this one is coming from the lava age that we've now set up, and it's all up and running. I went, well, you've seen the Pages for Ages episodes. Well, those episodes showed us getting the pages we needed to make a lava age. And that lava age has now been set up by yours truly. This was almost fully marble. Can you guess what I did with it? Yeah, I think you can. So yeah, this is the plan is that I'm going to set up Applied Energistics mod, ME, all the way around this factory block here. There's lots of ways to manipulate the AE-ME stuff. The ways that I wanted to manipulate items with red power and buildcraft, but never could. And it also interacts with Buildcraft and Red Power. So if there's anything that I need to actually use Buildcraft or Red Power for, I now know how to use it, and if it's cheaper than using the Applied Energistics, because Applied Energistics uses these crystals, quartz crystals and quartz dust. Now I've got a big stack of them at the minute because I've got Fortune 3 on this power tool. So whenever I come across one lot of ore for the crystals, it always ends up being that I have 2 or 3 of each come out instead of 1 of each, which I presume 1 of each is the regular average. Fortune 3 gives me more, so I've got a big stash of that. But every time I need some more, I'm going to have to go hunting for it. So I don't want to use it too much, but I need to use it as much as I need to use it, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense. So all the farm above and all of this is all going to get ripped out. It's all going to be replaced with this style of floor level. This particular one was my first build to see what it looked like, and it's got some space to extend. What I've done is I've created this level below on an exact chunk line. So that is inside a chunk, and the wall is just outside of the chunk. So a chunk loader could load 4 chunks and keep the whole place constantly loaded. So there's no messing about worrying about whether I've got an item inside the chunk that's loaded or outside the chunk that's loaded. And the plan is to go all the way through to bedrock in these 4 chunks. So that's a lot of talking. I've done a lot of talking about a lot of stuff. A lot of these levels that are going to be going down to have got a sort of idea in my head about what I want to use it for. Like this level here has got large open spaces with that in the middle. I'm going to use this as sort of like the power plant level and take more levels going down. And also I thought about, give me my booster, thank you. Thought about having this sort of like platform running around the wall so that I've got quite a lot of space underneath the platform and quite a lot of space on the platform to have a balconied area around the tank and a large space in the middle for big stuff to happen if I need it, and then more levels lower down and so on. So what I'm intending on doing is transferring things like the infinite iron and infinite gold and infinite diamonds production, transferring all that into this and creating a stable hey, I've got holes everywhere. I'm gonna have to sort them stairs out. Creating a stable storage solution for them in chests with pre-formatted discs and ender chests that have buses underneath them. Buses I'll get to. It's part of the thing. It's a storage bus, which basically reads what's in the connected inventory and adds it to the inventory of the whole system, but it doesn't actually move it into these disk drive storage. See, this disk holds all of that, whereas these storage buses will allow me to use an ender chest that the storage bus can access, which is a very useful feature for transferring things around, and also for using what my other favourite blocks in the game, the fabricators, because these fabricators need chests by them. And if I can maintain a quantity in an ender chest somewhere in the factory, then that ender chest can move those items around the factory to wherever they're needed. With a bit of careful coordination and colour coding, that will be the case. And these things can then have a bus underneath them to access the items that they create inside the system as well. So automated appetite into fertilizer can be done, and this will just fill up, and the bus will hold on to it and know that I've got 9 stacks of fertilizer in the system, and whenever I ask for fertilizer, it will just pull a stack out and the fabricator will make another stack to fill its space. That's the plan. So I'm not overproducing anything. I don't want to overfill my stock, so I don't want to stockpile, but I do want sort of an instant craft. So if I said, say, let's use this as an example still. Humus. There are 2 ways to make humus, and I've got 2 ways to make humus dedicated on fabricators here. So that would be a total of 9 stacks per fabricator, 18 stacks of humus, which I would then say would be enough. So I'd have 18 stacks of humus in the system without actually taking up any disk space whatsoever, that I could pull out and put into an item tesseract using another item from the Applied Energistics, an exporter, so that that could then export one item into the tesseract in the same way as this does. But instead of it being from a barrel through this being laggy, like so, it would be that the computer is controlling it and giving it 1 whenever it's empty. So whenever this over in the farm somewhere needs fertilizer, out in the farm wherever we're producing a multi-block farm that needs fertilizer, this could be connected to a multi-block farm on the fertilizer frequency, and every time it demands 1 single fertilizer, the item tesseract will pump one into the farm and receive another one from the system, and another one would get created in the fabricator ready to fill up again. Another 1 would get created in the fabricator from the raw components. Now, it all sounds good in my head, but I don't know if it's going to work yet. So I thought I'd give you this update to show you that I'm busy. I'm doing stuff, but I'm doing all the boring stuff off camera, which is why this update video is a bit more of just a world tour planning session, just to show you what I've achieved so far. As you can see down here, I need a lot more work doing to the lower levels. I need to rip up all of this old farm upstairs, and I wanted to show you it all before I started ripping it all up. I didn't want to just come back to the next episode and say, oh, look what I did, I ripped it all out and I started again. No, I want to show you how it all goes together. I want to learn how to do it, and I want you to be able to learn how to do it. And also, if you already know how to do things, I want you to comment on the videos, even if it's video responses, that would be cool, to show me what can be done with that mod. I know Mondef and Lewis are both heavily into that mod with the great big crafting stations and massive storage centers. Well, I'm trying to avoid copying that. I don't want to be just copying what they're doing. I don't want one big central storage system. Like here at the Warlord's base, everything I've done has been to create a stock for demand. So this lapis and glowstone has been useful within the IC2, but not many other mods. All of the ores along here for everybody to be able to access. It's not about overproducing or keeping everything stored in one little block so you can access it all from one terminal, because this is still a learning area. This is still us getting to grips with how things work. So I still wanted all that, and I still want to do that within the Applied Energistics mod. So I'm not planning on building one ginormous Applied Energistics block that's got all the crafting CPUs and all of the pattern providers and all that sort of stuff in. It'll get there eventually. I'll probably install them here and there in that. But I want to get it so that I can just start to play around with it all. And over this side, this farm here is redundant. We don't need any of the materials that it's producing